The assembly will come to order. The chief clerk will call the roll.
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Benitez-Thompson. Assemblywoman Vilbert-Axelrod. Assemblywoman Black. Assemblywoman Brown-May. Assemblywoman Carlton. Assemblywoman Cohen. Assemblywoman Considine. Assemblywoman Dickman. Assemblywoman Duran. Assemblyman Ellison. Assemblyman Flores. Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblyman Hafen. Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblywoman Hardy. Assemblywoman Howdigy. Assemblywoman Kasama. Assemblywoman Krasner. Assemblyman Levitt. Assemblywoman Martinez. Assemblywoman Marzola. Assemblyman Matthews. Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblywoman Brittany Miller. Assemblyman C.H. Miller. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Assemblywoman Nguyen. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblyman Orentlicker. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Roberts. Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Assemblywoman Thomas. Assemblywoman Titus. Assemblywoman Tolles. Assemblywoman Torres. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Wheeler. Assemblyman Yeager. Speaker Frierson.
Here, Assemblywoman Benitez-Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the record reflect that all members are present.
The record shall so reflect there are 42 members present. The assembly will please rise for the prayer by Pastor Sarah Johnson, the Lord of Mercy Lutheran Church in Sparks, as well as chaplain, Washoe County Detention Center.
Let us pray. Almighty Creator, we lift before you all who govern this beautiful state of Nevada, from our state and county governments to those who serve their cities and tribes. May all those who hold power understand that it is a trust from you to be used not for your personal glory or profit, but for the services of their neighbor. Drive from us all cynicism, selfishness, and corruption. Grant in your mercy an honest and just government, and give us grace to live together in unity and peace. Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order of Business 2, reading and approval of the journal.
Carson City, Monday, March 8th,
Mr. Speaker.
2021.
Assemblywoman Benitez-Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to dispense with further reading of the journal and authorize the Speaker and Chief Clerk to make necessary corrections or additions.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Order of Business 7, messages from the Senate.
Senate Chamber, Carson City, March 8, 2021. To the Honorable the Assembly, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day passed Senate Bills 3746, and I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day adopted Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 2. Sherry Rodriguez, Assistant Secretary of the Senate.
Order of Business 8, motions, resolutions, and notices.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution Number 4, introduced by Assemblyman Krasner et al. Senator Settlemyre, directing the Legislative Commission to appoint a committee to conduct an interim study on general improvement districts.
Assemblywoman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that ACR 4 be referred to your Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections.
Without objection, so referred.
Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 2, introduced by Senator Spearman, honoring the former state Senator Allison Copening for her advocacy for organ donation and expressing the support of the Nevada Legislature for the development of a transplant institute. Resolved that this resolution becomes effective upon adoption. End of resolution.
Assemblywoman Benitez-Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 2.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
Notice of exemption, March 9, 2021. The Fiscal Analysis Division, pursuant to Joint Standing Rule 14.6, has determined the eligibility for exemption of Assembly Bills 108, 120, 137, 167, 170, 189, 191, 204, and 206. Sarah Kaufman, Fiscal Analysis Division.
Go to Order of Business 9, introduction, first reading, and reference of bills.
Assembly Bill 211, introduced by Assemblywoman Howdigy, an act relating to wildlife requiring, with certain exceptions, the Department of Wildlife to submit comments on the potential impacts to wildlife and wildlife habitat of a proposed subdivision of land and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 211 be referred to your hardworking Committee on Government Affairs.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 212, introduced by Assemblyman Anderson et al. An act relating to interpreters, revising and expanding the membership of the committee to advise the court administrator regarding adoption of regulations relating to the certification or registration of court interpreters for certain persons, requiring the committee to submit an annual report to the Chief Justice of the Nevada Supreme Court and make the report available to the public and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 212 be referred to your Committee on Judiciary.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 213, introduced by Assemblyman Flores et al. An act relating to education, prohibiting the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada from fixing a tuition charge against certain students, providing that a student does not have to certify his or her citizenship or immigration status or complete the free application for federal student aid to receive certain scholarships or grants, prohibiting certain college tuition and savings programs from excluding persons based solely on the citizenship or immigration status of the person or his or her family, and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblywoman Bilberry Axelrod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we refer AB 213 to your Committee on Education.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 214, introduced by Assemblywoman Considine, an act relating to sexual assault, revising the definition of sexual assault by replacing gendered language with gender-neutral language and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 214 be referred to your Committee on Judiciary.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 215, introduced by Assemblyman Considine et al., an act relating to education, requiring the Department of Education to adopt regulations relating to the eligibility of certain persons to enroll in courses for an adult to earn a high school diploma and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblywoman Bilberry Axelrod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we refer AB 215 to your Committee on Education.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 216, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, an act relating to Medicaid, requiring the state plan for Medicaid to include coverage for certain cognitive assessment and care planning services and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblywoman Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 216 be referred to your Committee on Health and Human Services.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 217, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, an act relating to health care, requiring the State Board of Health to adopt regulations requiring unlicensed caregivers at designated facilities to receive certain training, requiring the person in charge of such a facility to perform certain duties relating to such training and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblywoman Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 217 be referred to your Committee on Health and Human Services.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 218, introduced by Assemblywoman Titus, an act relating to public office, authorizing a sheriff or constable to campaign for re-election to office, wearing the physical accoutrements of the office and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 218 be referred to your hardworking Committee on Government Affairs.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 219, introduced by Assemblyman Yeager, an act relating to criminal justice, authorizing the sealing of criminal records after a pardon, requiring the sealing of criminal records under certain circumstances, authorizing the appeal of certain petitions to seal criminal records, and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 219 be referred to your Committee on Judiciary.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 220, introduced by Assemblyman Frierson et al., an act relating to peace officers, requiring each law enforcement agency to adopt a written policy establishing standards of conduct for the use of mobile devices by peace officers employed by the law enforcement agency and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 220 be referred to your hardworking Committee on Government Affairs.
Without objection, so referred.
Assembly Bill 221, introduced by Assemblyman Assemblyman Torres et al., an act relating to trade practices, requiring certain manufacturers of certain digital electronic equipment to make certain documentation parts and tools available to owners of such equipment and to certain providers of services related to the diagnosis, maintenance, and repair of such equipment, prescribing the costs and terms under which such documentation parts and tools are required to be made available, providing that a violation of provisions relating to the availability of such documentation parts and tools is a deceptive trade practice, providing certain exemptions, providing penalties, and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 221 be referred to your Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Without objection, so referred.
Senate Bill 37, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs, an act relating to district attorneys, revising certain provisions relating to the process by which a district attorney may request assistance in criminal cases from the Office of Attorney General and providing other measures for relating thereto.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 37 be referred to your hardworking Committee on Government Affairs.
Without objection, so referred.
Senate Bill 46, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs, an act relating to the Office of the Attorney General, authorizing certain employees of the Office of the Attorney General to request that certain personal information be kept in a confidential manner, authorizing such persons to request the Department of Motor Vehicles to display an alternate address on his or her driver's license, commercial driver's license, or identification card designating certain vehicles owned and operated by the Office of the Attorney General as emergency vehicles and providing other measures for relating thereto.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 46 be referred to your hardworking Committee on Government Affairs.
Without objection, so referred. Go to Order of Business 12, General File and third reading.
Assembly Bill 16, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, an act relating to vital statistics, prohibiting the charging of fees for the issuance of copies of certificates and records of birth to persons who are imprisoned and providing other measures for relating thereto. The People's State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Assembly Bill 16 prohibits the state registrar and any person or governmental organization from charging a fee for the issuance of a certified or official copy of a birth certificate or record of birth to a person who submits documentation from the Department of Corrections that the person is currently imprisoned.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 42 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare pass. Order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 26, introduced by the Committee on Growth and Infrastructure, an act relating to energy assistance, revising provisions relating to the Fund for Energy Assistance and Conservation and providing other measures properly relating thereto. The People's State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Are any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Assembly Bill 26 clarifies that the annual report regarding the Fund for Energy Assistance and Conservation prepared by the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services of the Department of Health and Human Services must specify the amount of money in the fund that, 1, has been allocated to and received by the division on or before June 30th of all preceding fiscal years, and 2, remains unspent and unencumbered as of December 31st of the fiscal year in which the report is being made. The bill also clarifies that the division may be required to distribute to the Housing Division of the Department of Business and Industry a certain percentage of money in the fund that is unspent and unencumbered on or before June 30th of all preceding years. This bill is effective upon passage and approval.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 42 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare pass. Order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 35, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, an act relating to health care, consolidating certain programs to assist senior citizens and persons with disabilities with costs relating to health care, revising the requirements for eligibility to receive assistance under the consolidated program, authorizing the publication, disclosure, or use of information contained in a request for a subsidy under the consolidated program for certain purposes, and providing other measures properly in there too. The People's State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 15, end of Section 15, end of bill.
Are any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Assembly Bill 35 consolidates 2 financial assistance programs for senior citizens and persons with disabilities financed by the Fund for Healthy Nevada into a single program. This bill also revises eligibility requirements for the consolidated program and makes various conforming changes. Under the consolidated program, a person is eligible to receive assistance with prescription drug costs, pharmaceutical services, and certain other services if he or she is a state resident, meets certain requirements prescribed by regulation of the Department of Health and Human Services, and is 60 years of age or older, or has a physical or intellectual disability or a related condition.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 39 ayes, 3 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed. Order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 62, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, an act relating to the Nevada An act relating to the Nevada Able Savings Program, revising provisions governing regulations adopted to carry out the program, authorizing the state treasurer to apply for and accept any gift, grant, donation, bequest, or other source of money to carry out the program, revising provisions governing the endowment account established in the state general fund related to the program, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Are there any remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 42 ayes, 0 nays. The bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 74, introduced by the Committee on Natural Resources, an act relating to pesticides, revising requirements related to the maintenance of certain records of restricted use pesticides, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Are there amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Assembly Bill 74 requires that sellers of restricted use pesticides maintain records of the distribution of those pesticides, in addition to sales records. Also, the sales and distribution records must be maintained in accordance with federal record-keeping requirements for state certification plans. This bill is effective upon passage and approval.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 42 ayes, 0 nays. The bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate. I believe now we can go to order business 15, remarks from the floor. Assemblywoman Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this day, March 9th, 2005, during Women's History Month, a statue of Nevada Paiute Sarah Winnemucca was dedicated at the National Statuary Hall in Washington, D.C., attended by U.S. Senators John Ensign and Harry Reid, U.S. Representative Jim Gibbons, and Nevada Governor Kenny Gwinn. Sarah Winnemucca was born in 1844 at Humboldt Lake, which bisects my district and that of my colleague from northern Nevada. She was born to an influential Paiute family. She was a peacemaker, interpreter, author, and fought for civil rights among Indians or for Indians, drawing attention to the plight of her people. In 1884, she founded the Peabody School for Indian Children near Lovelock, Nevada. In 1993, Sarah Winnemucca was inducted into the Nevada Writers Hall of Fame. She'd written a book about the plight of the American Indians. It was called Life Among the Paiute, Their Wrongs and Claims. She was inducted into Nevada Hall of Fame, Writers Hall of Fame in 1993, and in 1994, a Washoe County, Nevada elementary school was named in her honor, and she was inducted in the National Women's Hall of Fame. Today, let us remember Sarah Winnemucca, her accomplishments, and all those of American Indian women. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Anderson.
Order business 15, Mr. Speaker.
Order business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd also like to recognize somebody that was a trailblazer for us in honor of Women's History Month. I would like to highlight one of the first people I campaigned for. I actually, I think I was voluntold because I was probably in a stroller when I had the opportunity to walk for Mary Gojak the first time. She served in the Nevada State Assembly in 1973 before running for the other house, where she was also successful. During her time in both houses, she was a strong advocate for the ERA, women's reproductive freedom, and spoke out against capital punishment. In 1980, she made the decision to run for the U.S. Senate. When she called my family asking for support, she was enthusiastically cut off in the middle of her of her little ask when my father stated, "Of course, you have it. Let me know what I can do." Mary, in her very patient, straightforward way, said, "That's great, Bernie. Thanks. But I really was calling to make sure that Karen and Natha were able to help me." At the ages of 12 and 8, respectively, and this is a time when the telephones were still tethered to the wall, we were so impressed that somebody that was a leader wanted to see us get involved. We saw that leadership being portrayed in somebody that was wearing high heels and not wingtips, as most of the leaders that we knew were. Although she was not successful in her bid for the U.S. Senate, she personified the type of leader we all need to be, one who recognizes the importance of the legacy which is left behind and the need to encourage others to make the jump. Mary died at the age of 49 due to breast cancer. Daily, I walk by that composite picture, and I know how happy, proud she would be to both see how many females are in this chamber, but also the men who have encouraged our leadership. As my colleague from AD 33 pointed out Monday, others are watching, learning, and are influenced by us. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
Assemblywoman Benitez-Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seeing no other business before us, I move that the Assembly stand adjourned until Wednesday, March the 10th at 2021 at the hour of 11:30 a.m.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.